China's treatment of its Uyghur minority group has drawn condemnation and concern from many countries. A traditionally Muslim, Turkic-speaking population in China's western Xinjiang region, the Uyghurs have faced mass surveillance, arbitrary detention, and police harassment, as well as forced labor and sterilization in the government's campaign to curb alleged separatism and Islamic extremism. Over 1 million Uyghurs are estimated to be held in internment camps, which the Chinese government calls re-education centers. Yet advocacy groups say even the hundreds of thousands who have fled outside the country aren't safe from the Communist Party's reach. The Communist Party of China, or the CCP, has many means at its disposal for surveilling and persecuting Chinese nationals abroad, according to ProPublica. Some of these methods are covert or indirect, such as using spies and agents within diaspora networks to harass and intimidate targeted individuals or persuade them to return by threatening their relatives in China. Embassies and consulates provide another avenue by denying travel documents, requiring people to travel back to China to renew their passports, or subjecting them to additional monitoring when accessing consular services. In recent years, the CCP has increasingly pursued its targets openly via official means, leveraging its considerable global influence over foreign governments and international organizations. Perhaps most concerning has been China's use of the International Criminal Police Organization, or Interpol, according to Safeguard Defenders, a non-profit human rights group. Intended to help national police forces apprehend criminals across borders, the Chinese government has used Interpol's red notices to target dissidents and whistleblowers, including prominent Uyghurs. Individuals appearing on red notices can face questioning, visa denials, and detention or deportation while traveling, even in countries where China has no direct influence. While some red notices are published and accessible to the public, many more are available only to law enforcement, with subjects often unaware of their status. And once such notice is issued, it can take years to appeal. Dolkan Issa, president of the World Uyghur Congress, spent nearly 20 years on the list, being detained in South Korea and Italy before the notice was finally revoked in 2018. Idris Hassan, another Uyghur activist, was not so lucky. Apprehended in Morocco, he has remained imprisoned even after his red notice was suspended, and now faces extradition to China. In theory, Interpol's constitution prohibits it from pursuing cases on political, military, religious, or racial grounds. But in practice, submissions by member states face little scrutiny or oversight. The Chinese government may use accusations of financial crimes or corruption, often without substantial evidence. Uyghurs in particular are likely to face vague charges of terrorism or Islamic extremism. This rhetoric, largely adapted from the US-led global war on terror, is also how China justifies its actions in the context of multilateral institutions like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where it plays a dominant role, encompassing Russia and the Central Asian states, as well as India, Pakistan, and Iran. The organization allows members to deny asylum to refugees from other member states, with no requirements for due process. Some observers also claim that it could become an anti-Western bloc dominated by China and Russia. The willingness of foreign governments to assist the CCP in persecuting the Uyghur diaspora has often come as a surprise, particularly when it comes to Muslim-majority countries where many Uyghurs have sought refuge. Some of this cooperation can be explained by economic incentives, with China being a major creditor in countries such as Pakistan and Kyrgyzstan through its Belt and Road Initiative. However, political and ideological factors also play a role. The Chinese government's prioritization of internal stability over democracy and its opposition to international human rights criticism as interference in its internal affairs appeals to other authoritarian governments around the world, and China's actions have to some extent been normalized by other countries' aggressive silencing of critics abroad, such as the poisoning in the United Kingdom of Sergei Skripal, a former Russian military intelligence officer who acted as a double agent, and the murder in Turkey of Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi journalist and dissident. With China's increasing influence on the global stage, those seeking to escape are left with fewer and fewer places to go. Experts warn that the cross-border persecution of Uyghurs threatens not only the diaspora, but the viability of international institutions and the rule of law.